All right, I am sitting here with Jeremy. Now, pronounce your last name.
Bartolomei. Everybody mispronounces it, so.
Bartolomei.
Yep.
Bartolomei. All right. So, we did a series a couple of months ago called Testify, and we had said that we wanted to continue giving people an opportunity to do that. And you actually approached me during the series and said that you'd love to tell your story. And so we've got that set up for today. You've been coming to the church here now for almost 2.5 years.
Yeah, I believe it's been almost 2.5 years now.
2.5 years, yeah.
Flying.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you guys came, you and your fiance at the time, and now wife, and lots of exciting things down the pipeline going on. But before we hear a little bit about what you're doing right now, let's go backwards and tell us the story of the night Jeremy came into the world.
We'll go back here. So a little bit about me real quick is just, I didn't really grow up in a Christian household by any means. Yeah, we went to church, the average, Christmas, Easter, whatever, so on and so forth. But I started to go more to church by myself, middle school, high school time frame. I got invited out by a friend from the cross country team. And I was like, okay, this is something I'm kind of interested in, kind of not, it's kind of like doing my own thing. My sophomore year, I got plugged into a really good group of guys. I think this is a really cool group of guys. They're going to church, whatever. I didn't really know what that really truly meant. But I was here chasing girls. I was still here trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to, I just want to be a part of this friend group, whatever.
And you say here, but it wasn't Georgia.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, so I did live in California.
Okay.
Yeah, this was in California at the time. Lived there the majority of my life. Raised there, born in Virginia. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, I was growing up kind of like in the church, kind of not starting to crawl around there. But I started going through. I had a girlfriend at the time. We broke up, and I was like, all right, whatever, I'm done, whatever. And then I started dating another girl, and I was like, you know what? And it was like a 6-month relationship, and I was like, okay, yeah, dude, I want to marry this girl. That's what I want to do. And I'm taking advice from a few of my buddies in the group, and he's like, man, just pointing out all the red flags. I was like, look, man, he was like, step back here. You need to reevaluate coming from a believer at the time. And I was like, man, I'm just going to do what I want.
How old were you?
I was 17, I think, at the time. Yeah. 16. And I was like, yeah, man, whatever. Just kept on rolling.
Yeah.
And that ended in a abrupt stop. And God was like, hey, I want you on me. I was like, okay, all right. You know what? I'll give my life. Start thinking more about
it. Came to a stop before marriage.
It came to a stop before marriage, of course. Yes. Yeah, came to a stop where it was just I kept pushing to kept trying to push the idea of marriage on her, and I was like, yeah, man, this is what I truly want. But again, God was like, nope, this is over, whatever. So that ended, and I got more involved. This is when I started slowly becoming more involved with the church. I was at the time being, I didn't want to heal. I wanted to sit in that sad, depressing time in my life.
Very emo.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, yeah, tonight will. Anyways, I got plugged in more with a few of these friends, strong believers, still are great believers to this day. I love them to death. And so they kind of guided me navigate this area, and I realized hey, I started growing more with these believers, my brothers, and I realized, okay, hey, I need God, dude. There's nothing more that I need in my life than a savior, which is Jesus, of course. And
sure,
I was so happy about that, but I wasn't really being tested by any means yet. So I was like, okay, yeah, great. I had a really great group of people, a great church, And that's all
Was there a clear defining moment inside of this where you thought that where you look back and go, okay, this is where I made the decision. I committed my life to the Lord. I declared him as Jesus.
Not yet.
So you weren't quite there.
I wasn't quite there in
Yeah.
this next year though. So I left after we all graduated high school. I had 5 days after graduation to say like, hey, goodbye to all my friends and family or whatever. And that's when I left for basic training for the Army. And I realized when I left, I was saddened of what I left behind. I was like, dude, this sucks. Like, I just left my brothers. I left this church that was really good I was growing up in. And I was like, dude, this is great, dude. And I had that.
Yeah.
And now that's when I started to really get like kind of pushed in a direction where I was like, ooh, this is a new territory.
Right.
And I said to myself, I was like, dude, I just need to open up my Bible and just start reading. I think that's where it started to really like change because I was noticing the people I was around were
So you left, but why did you leave? What were you going to do? Because you said 5 days.
Yeah. So those
do?
5 days, right? You know, I wanted just to spend that time with my brothers and sisters.
But what were you doing? Why were you leaving?
So I was leaving. That was the time I was leaving for the basic training.
So you had enlisted.
Yep, I had enlisted.
What branch?
The Army.
The Army.
So I left or I signed the papers and documents in like May, and they were like, "Yeah, you got 5 days after you graduate." It's like, ooh, I didn't really want that, but it ended up happening the way it did. So I'm happy it did because again, that pushed me in a direction of, hey, you're kind of like responsible for this now. You're responsible for getting into the Word and growing this walk now individually instead of relying on other people.
So where did you ship off to?
I shipped off to Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
So you left California for South Carolina.
All the way across the country. I was like, I don't know what I was getting myself into. I was like, yep, this is the way I want to go with my life.
That's good.
I questioned a lot of it at the time. I was like, dude, I don't know if this was the right like decision for me. Like, I didn't realize that, but I'm happy because it got me out of a bubble that, okay, hey, I should not be relying on these other people to help me grow in faith.
Right.
And so, again, it pushed me out. I don't remember how long basic training was at the time, but I remember every single time I had free time available to me, I was spending a lot of time in the Word. I was going through James. James is like one of my favorite books to go to, and Matthew.
Okay.
I had a big old study Bible I was gifted to from a teacher in high school, I believe.
That's cool.
He was like, yeah, man, hey, they're giving out study Bibles. I was like, sure, why not? I'll use it and go through it when I'm in basic.
Okay.
So I came to this point though, in basic where I was like, oh, dude, I'm dedicating my life now. Like I should just go ahead, dedicate my life. Cause I'm realizing again of how, encouraging and how, much strength I've not physically, but just mentally, spiritually and emotionally, like how encouraging it was to be picking up the Word individually and reading it.
Yeah.
And then also sharing that too with the other people there. Cause everybody in basic training, everybody goes to the church, everybody goes to Sunday church just to get away from, all the chaos from the drill instructors and whatever, drill sergeants. And so we get to this point though where it's like, okay, everybody in the Army kind of knows who Jesus is, kind of doesn't. But in the barracks though, like on Sundays, that was our chill day. Mm-hmm. And so I made a few friends and they were kind of going through the Word with me, and I was kind of like leading them in ways where it was like, looking back on it now, it's like, wow, I'm very like happy I did that. But like at the time being, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, what the heck, I'm sitting here. And then the word, the church the church was like, hey, we're doing baptism. Does anyone want to get baptized? And I was like, yeah, of course I want to get baptized. I absolutely want to get baptized.
So this was a local church or the chapel?
This was the chapel. Sorry.
Yeah,
Chapel.
that's okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I just, for clarity.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this was the chapel at the time. Again, I was like, yes, whatever this is what I want for my life.
That's cool.
And so I was like, all right, sweet. So get done with basic training, kind of moving over into like the second half of training is what they call AIT, Advanced Individual Training.
Okay.
And so that's for like your job, what you're going to be doing on a daily basis.
Sure.
And so it's funny because I got paired up with like two other guys, just random Joes basically. And then my next door neighbor he was a pastor back home. And so me and him kind of hooked up a lot. We started talking about the word, and he was very encouraging through that time. Trying to spread the love of Jesus, dude. Like, he was very encouraging, great guy. And so that kind of like left me with more encouragement, like going into my duty station, which was Savannah, Georgia, over on Hunter Army Airfield. And so I was like, yeah, dude, like, I'm very encouraged now to see what God's got for me.
So California to South Carolina,
to Virginia. I'm sorry.
To Virginia.
So
okay.
Virginia, Fort Lee. I was up there for a few weeks, and then I got to Georgia in 2019.
Were you in South Carolina or Virginia when you got baptized?
I was in South Carolina.
South Carolina. Yeah. Okay, so you got baptized. You've made this decision. You've made it public, and you land in Savannah, Georgia.
Good old Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
And so, I'm like, super stoked. I get here. I think that first week, I was like, or the first 2 weeks, I was over on Stewart. And I was trying to get to chapel. I didn't know what chapel times were and all this other stuff. So like, I missed chapel, and I was like, all right, well, that kind of sucks. But, and I didn't have a car. I'm walking all over the place. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then I got word, hey, you're going to go over to Hunter Army Airfield instead of Stewart, which is a 45-minute drive.
Right.
So, all right, cool. Going to a new area. Sweet. Let's do this. I get here, get thrown in my barracks. Hey, the unit's deployed right now. They're in Germany. Okay, cool. So I guess I'm going to be here for maybe a few months. He's like, yeah, sure. One of my leadership said that basically at the time. So I was super anxious because like now I'm like, okay, well, now what? So my first idea was, hey, I want to get plugged in right off the rip. So I'm Googling like type of Bible studies here are on base, just the people around me, like the different types of churches.
Yeah. One
of the first things that came up was a little Bible study on base called the Navigators, called the Navigators, whatever. And so I got plugged in with them. Like, I think I got there on a Monday, and I like sent out a text message to this guy. I was like, hey man, like, I go to this meetup point. They said Wednesdays at, I don't know, 6:30. I go there. I'm like, no one's here. You're like, what the heck? There's a little, like, in the small little font, there's a phone number and a contact. I reach out to that guy. His name's Mark. And I reach out to him. I'm like, hey, are you guys doing a Bible study here on Wednesdays? He's like, no, man, they got pushed up to Thursdays. So it's like, okay, whatever. Cool. I'll come back Thursday night. Got like plugged in right off the rip. I was like, sweet. The majority of these guys that I'm around now are 75th Ranger guys. Some are big Army, but the majority of them are all special operations. And I was like, I feel like I don't belong, but like, there's a lot to learn from these guys because, you know, they go overseas, they see a lot more than I do coming from big Army. So,
and isn't it cool to see that guys, they get really specialized, really focused, and, you know, the way that media portrays them as being rough.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, there's no way that these people, you know, have time for God. And yet you find that so many of them are very disciplined, and faith is a big part of their life.
Oh, absolutely. And like seeing that too through the Navs train people, or these soldiers and the people who are part of the NAV community. They really try to push like, hey, you got to be you have to be disciplined enough to be in your Bible on a daily basis.
Sure.
And I was very happy at the time with that, because the guys I was working around like that specifically, like, I was happy to be in my word. I was happy to be spending some time with these guys who, again, they work nothing but off of faith.
Right.
And it's just, that's amazing. That's a blessing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like too, when I started going to Compassion Christian, like that's where we were all going at the time. And so
that's one of the larger churches.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
area,
So I was
it's
like,
easy to jump into.
Exactly.
And so you started going to a Bible study there too. If I remember correctly, you were telling me about.
I started slowly going and like integrate a little bit over there with Compassion, but I was more focused down on like myself.
Yeah.
And then came the point of, okay, I'm spending a lot of time with these guys. They're my brothers. And I was super stoked to now go to Europe, where I didn't know what was to come.
Yeah.
Just 2019, right before COVID, literally weeks before COVID, months before COVID. So I get sent out in February, I think it was February 14th.
Okay.
I sent me out to Germany of 2020, and I get out there. I'm like, okay, cool. This is kind of interesting. Trying to test the water, see like who are like believers to be around, who are these people to be around, whatnot. Get plugged in. And there's like one other guy there that I got linked up with that was actually a part of that group before he was sent off.
Okay.
So I linked up with him. His name's Eric. Great guy. I love him so much. And so cool. Now I've got another brother I'm going to be around for the next few months while we're on this rotation out there in Germany.
Yeah.
So COVID happened. And so when I got out there to Europe, basically it was like a week of like freedom, right? We were able to, my plan was like go around Europe, like try out some of these churches, like in these like common areas, these cities and stuff. Be like, okay, hey, look, like I wanted to see what the gospel was doing in other places.
Sure.
What I found out though, was Germany is a very dark place.
Yes.
Europe in a whole, it's a very dark place, and how much like Jesus is truly needed there.
Yeah.
Anyways, COVID happened, locked everything down. We then started become treated like as if we were like in a deployed like Iraq, Afghanistan, like nobody's leaving base whatsoever. And it was like, oh, this sucks. Like this really sucks. We weren't allowed out of our rooms besides going to work and the chow hall. Gyms were closed, and it was just the worst absolute time. And I mean, that was a time, I think that was another testing time. I think that it was like, okay, hey, are you going to really truly open up the word and come to me?
Yeah.
And so I learned that through that time, I started to struggle now, because now I only had one other brother he's there, but now COVID kind of shut that down.
Access
and now it's like,
limited.
yep, exactly. And so now it's like, okay, now what, you know? I started to, especially the people I was around, that had a big influence on me, and I hated that at that time. I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to be affiliated with this, so whatever. But then what do? Like, do I isolate myself? And, you know, like, so I got plugged in with them, a group out there, and it just spiraled down, dude. Like, I started coming to a point where I was getting tired, and so I kind of started going out, hanging out with these guys, and it sucked because I started getting glued to my phone. That was when like TikTok was starting to become a thing, and I was like, okay, well, what's the point of me following, you know? Like I started trying to ask these guys some questions and see where they were at in their faith, but I kept just getting shut down by them. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. I'm going to do my best to have my beliefs. All right, whatever. Okay, cool. And then that's when I started really spiraling down. I started getting a porn addiction, and I was just like, okay, dude, like this sucks. Like I started realizing it, but I didn't want to stop. I didn't. We came back to the States in July of 2020. I realized I had a problem. That I think I stayed in the barracks from July till almost December, 6 months. And so the first like 3 to 4 months, I was kind of like doing my own thing still. Like I knew where to go to have a relationship with some of these people, like with the navigators and all this other stuff. I was still kind of like going to the Bible studies, kind of not. And I was like, you know what, whatever. So I started dating a girl at the time, which was not a healthy one by any means. Mm-hmm. And so I realized, though, that I came to this point of this isn't right. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something going on here. She ended things with me. And mm-hmm. so I was like, okay, now I feel even more like defeated in this. And I was hurting a lot. And I'll never forget, I was in the barracks room that night, just kind of weeping. And I was like, Father, like, I know I've sinned. I've walked away from you. But can you redeem this relationship I have with you? I said that in my prayer, and I kid you not, I got a phone call the following week from my buddy Mark, and he was like, hey man, do you want to come live with us? And I was like, huh, interesting. Yeah, dude. And like, I was kind of skeptical about it at first. I was like, okay, well, what does that look like? You know, what would brother and brother relationship look like in a household? So he asked a very important question. He was like, okay, well, what are you expecting from this then? How's that? And I was like, I'm expecting just to grow with another brother in Christ. My brother.
How did you know him?
Mark was the guy who originally reached out to when I first came to Hunter.
Okay.
I reached out to him. He kind of like led me, guided me at the time.
Military guy.
Yeah, military guy,
Yeah.
guard guy. He was, I think, a reserve or National Guard, one of the two, whatever. But
So he's part of the Navigators.
Yeah, he was a part of the Navigator ministry, and so it's cool though because I started building that relationship.
Sure.
And so looking back though on that, and I should have taken that opportunity earlier, but this is like November now probably, and I was like, you know what? Sure, why not? I would go ahead and get plugged in, live with these guys, and it truly has helped. Like being disciplined again in the Word, being surrounded by believers, being encouraged on a daily basis was such a blessing because it made me want to go ahead and do all this outreaching. Like Mark would do a lot of outreaching in the barracks because, I mean, some of these guys in the barracks are like living in sin, trying to like pull out demons and stuff. It's like, bro, whoa, you know? And so I'm glad that I've learned a lot from him, what outreach truly looks like. And the other guys in the house too. We had 2 other guys, John and Eric, grew with them as well. And so this is the time when I started going back to Compassion and their Bible studies on a consistent basis, because I was like, I'll try it out, whatever. Everyone's going to their own church.
So you really are testifying that the company you keep impacts you. So
absolutely,
you're deployed, nobody's living for the Lord, and instead of drawing some lines in the sand and saying, look, I'm going to be solitary for a little bit, you allow yourself to be influenced. Then you come back and you almost decide solitary, and God opens the door for you to not be solitary, and to be alone, and you end up in a house full of believers. And so there's like a really dynamic difference in the atmosphere among when you're around believers versus when you're not, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I say that just because it's like, again, on a daily basis, we had weekly discussions where it's like, hey, look, man, like this is something that we like. For me, I remember like I always had an issue with my leadership. I always had like some type of issue because they weren't believers, and it was just like, hey, look, man, like of course, me being a sinful individual as well, like how do I navigate this? How do I manage to continue to respect my leaders above me who aren't believers? Mm-hmm. And then how can I also like show the love of Christ on them in a way of like, okay, yeah, I'll do this, or, I understand like that was my mess up, or, so on and so forth. And so it's weird being enlisted and having to deal with that because, again, you're dealing with people who think that they are above the law and, trying to.
Well, I mean, the military is not the only place that exists.
Exactly.
So,
absolutely. That was like my first real taste
Sure.
of that. And it was just like, oh my goodness, dude. So it definitely had an impact with being around other believers on a daily basis. And I mean, praying for food, even that was encouraging to hear what was going on in their lives at the time.
Some accountability.
Yeah, accountability.
So you end up in this place, you end up back in a Bible study, you're back around some of these people from Compassion, and what happens next? You're single.
Yep, I'm single at the time.
Yeah.
This is when I started to when we started going to these small groups with Compassion, or I started going to these small groups with Compassion. Mm-hmm. That's when I met my now wife. And so I was like super thrilled at the time. Like I remember like I went to this Bible study and I was like, that girl over there in the corner is pretty. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should get her number or something. I don't know, whatever. I was like trying to think of it though. I was like, you know what though, like I know I should probably just wait. I should just wait to see what happens to the Lord, you know. And it's funny enough though, because I still got her number that night anyways, and I was like, well, shoot. But I got her number and I was like, okay, hey, you know, she was going through some stuff in her life at the time where that was like kind of like God was like saying, no, I want you guys to work on each other. I shot her down, shot her away. This is right when I broke up with that, or not right when I broke up.
Shortly after.
Yeah, shortly after. And it was just like, I don't want to test any waters right now. I'm just going to kind of hang out, whatever. And so she was going through something, and we didn't talk for like 6 months. 6 months, or a few months at least, is what I recall. And it's funny because God was working on us individually, working through some of the issues that we had in our lives from previous girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever.
Just life.
Yeah, life in general. Yeah. And so I'm happy though, because we got reconnected again. I think right when I came back from California, I went out to California to go visit some of the guys, my family, everything, that Christmas of 2020, going into 2021. And I came back and I was like, you know what? I wonder if that girl's still going to the Bible studies. I was like, all right, I'll go. Why not? I went out there to that Bible study. We started getting into contact again, just kind of texting and stuff. And she was so skeptical. She was like, I don't want to talk to you. She was so mad at me. I was like, okay, that's fair, whatever. So again, I was like, we're just friends. We'll talk it out, whatever. Started talking a little more, and she's like, okay, maybe I do have feelings for this guy. I started getting feelings as well. And so I brought that back, and I was like, dude, like I really enjoy who this person is and who she has become. I went back to my house, and the guys are kind of skeptical. They're like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, where are you at? Where's your heart in this?
Sure.
And I was like, I see this woman as a potential wife eventually.
Yeah.
I just want to be friends. And I strictly was like, all right, let's just stay as friends for now. Do that as long as we can. It was like a month or two later, I ended up asking her out. It's like, hey, you want to be a girlfriend and boyfriend? I was like, sure. So
write on a card,
yeah,
check yes, check no, and slip it to her.
No, it's funny because it was Valentine's Day.
Of course it was.
And yeah, of course. I'm leaving her house, and I get in my car, and I text her. I was like, can you come out here real quick? All right, whatever. She comes out. Then that's when I asked her. I was like, hey, can you be my girlfriend?
You want to go steady? Yeah, that's funny. Your kids will make fun of you for that one day.
They absolutely will.
Yeah.
Anyways, so, all right, cool. We started dating. So I'm still in the Army at this point. I'm still kind of going through trying to figure out what I want to do for a career. Doesn't really sit on my heart that, okay, like when I should propose to her and whatnot. I think it was a year later. Yeah, a year later, I proposed to her, or a year and a half, I think, is when I proposed to her. And it's like, hey, look, like, what does this timeline look like now? Like, starting to plan everything. I want you to be my wife. And like, you know, do I stay with the military? Do I not stay with the military? Just a lot of things piling on top of each other. Of course, too, like, you know, we struggled with trying to like figure this out, this timeline. Our plan was to get married in like August and stuff like that. But it was just like the church kind of started like getting involved, and it sucked. It wasn't really like, we weren't respected, and that's what I hate to say. And so we kind of took it back to God, and we were like, okay, like, if you truly want this to happen, like, we'll give it over to you. And so we started going to counseling to work on each other in our relationship as fiancés. And I said to her, I said to Brianna, and I told her, I was like, look, we need to go ahead and just pray about it. Like, it hurts my heart to say that, like, you know, we're going through this difficult time of our lives to continue to grow in this fiance aspect. Like, we just want to be husband and wife already. We're like, dude, like, just get married tomorrow, you know? Yeah. But that wasn't God's vision. That came later. So we got married in, I think this is like early, like January, December timeframe of 2022 going into 2023. And so it took it about 6 months, and then we finally got married.
I remember.
Yep.
I was there.
Yep, you were there. You married us.
Yeah. So in the process of this, see if I can say this right, part of what a lot of young people, not all, but a lot of young people go through is finding their own identity. And especially if there are multiple generations inside of a church, sometimes couples will say, hey, I want to come over here and I want to, we'll find our place to worship. And that's not a necessity. There's nothing biblical that says do this, don't do that.
Right.
But if I remember correctly, you guys were just trying to find your own ground to stand on. And, she was blessed to come from a family that is very involved in ministry.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, you both are very talented. You play guitar, she sings, and so you guys showed up, and that was kind of the way I met y'all. Was like, hey, we're just trying to figure out where do we belong.
Right.
We as once we're married, and and you guys kind of popped in and out. Like you came a few Sundays, you disappeared, and
came back,
and then you came back, and then you did the wedding, and you guys got married on the beach on
Tybee
Island. Beautiful place over there.
Great place. I'm happy because it took us a few minutes or a little bit to figure out where we wanted to go and where we belong. And of
There's
course,
nothing wrong with that.
I'm very happy to and blessed to say that, like a lot of the wisdom, I guess you could say, or whatever, we were being told that, you shouldn't be getting married at this age. And I understand. I'm young, but that's where I felt like I was getting called to at the time. And
it's interesting because culture plays such a role in the way we think, and the church can absolutely, as ministers, we can get caught up in that. And we can use cultural language and stuff. And it's interesting because for me, I got married when I was 20, and I just celebrated 25 years of marriage. So the idea that, you shouldn't get married until a certain date, I always kind of push back on that myself. I think that being a healthy person is really important. And, one of the things I don't do is I won't participate in a marriage ceremony with someone who hasn't been through premarital counseling.
Right.
And I had told you all that. And so I actually spoke with y'all's counselor, and he felt really good about where you guys were at, and the growth that y'all had seen individually over the period of time you had been meeting with him. He's somebody I know in ministry and trust. And to me, those are the important things is not about how old you are, or how much money you're making. It's really about, first of all, do you understand the covenant that you're entering into? It's not just between you and your bride, you and your husband. It is between the two of you and the Lord. It's the husband, the wife, and God. And so that covenant is one that it's a promise that's being made, and we kind of flippantly throw that around. What's interesting is that we'll make the push that, oh, you're not old enough, and then we'll also give 100 reasons why. Well, divorce isn't that big of a thing,
right?
And none of those line up with what we see inside of Scripture.
Absolutely.
So, so you guys got married, and you transitioned out of the military, if I remember correctly, and you've been on a journey.
That was a very interesting section of my life. So
you disappeared for what, 4 months?
Yeah.
Is that how long it was?
It was such a weird time because we got married, and I was transitioning from active duty to the National Guard. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for, what am I going to do for work, dude? What will I ever do for work? And so I have another friend of mine who's a firefighter in Savannah, and he was like, hey, there's slots opening right now for the recruit class over in Chatham County. I was like, okay, sure, why not? I'll go ahead and apply just to see if I even like it,
Yeah.
give it a week or so. And I went ahead, I got the job. I started going through their academy. And there's one thing I really did not like about being a firefighter. I was like, I did not want to deal with the EMS side of things. I despised the EMS stuff.
Sure.
All the medical stuff, nope. But I knew that that's something I had to do to work in this field of work that I'm doing now. And so I was going through their academy. I did not do too well. I failed my emergency medical responder test. And so they're like, all right, well, you've got to, like, we don't want to kick you out, but we'll recommend you to other places around here. All right, cool. So I got ahead. I applied for a position over in Garden City here in Savannah. What a blessing, dude. I'm so happy that God's opened that door for me.
That's great.
He's blessed us so far, like, with everything. Getting the job over there, I now finally got certified for my EMT, which is the next step up from EMR.
Okay.
And so, anyways, that's now, that happened now. But so when I got the job over in Garden City, that's when I left for 4 months. I had to go retrain, reclass for my job now with the National Guard. I work on helicopters for the Army. I thought that's where I wanted to go for like my actual line of work, but I came back and I was like, it's fun, but I mean, I'll probably just do this for like a side gig and whatever for just the National Guard side. And then that's when I started to go ahead and work on my EMT stuff, past that stuff. And now it kind of brings us to where we are now, where, seeing those blessings, through my job, passing it, having the job that I have now, and then on top of that as well, being blessed, we finally got a house. We're able to close on a house finally.
Yeah, so you've bought a house.
Yep.
And
Yep, we're having we're also going to be having a baby here soon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving pieces right now.
Right.
And I believe that the Lord's been providing, because like originally our plan was, after I got my EMT, was to go ahead and move out to California. Both of our ideas were like that.
Yeah.
Because I got some family out there. I got some really good friends out there. Those great friends, still my brothers to this day. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And, we're saving up a lot of money. And then God was like, no. I am going to bless you with a child. And I was like, whoa, okay, sweet, awesome.
Yeah.
And so that kind of put us in like a questionable moment of like, okay, were we doing that for us or were we doing that for God? And so,
And sometimes I just say this just because I don't want you to feel like, I don't want anybody to feel like we have to over spiritualize everything.
Oh yeah.
God's okay with us making decisions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that based on the information that you had before you at the time, you're talking about going to California because you're young, you're married, you don't have anything that's really holding you down, and it's like, hey, we could go do this. It'd be an adventure. And what we do know is that Scripture tells us the Lord opens and closes the womb, and so here comes another variable, and it's like, okay, well, where do we want this child to be raised? And so my understanding is you guys made the decision to stay, and you got a house, and you're a few months from wrapping all that up and moving in.
Absolutely. And I'm like super stoked because it's like, yeah, we made that decision to stay, and I'm glad we did, because growing up within this church where it's like people that we know, people that we love and cherish, and I'm like super excited to see what blessings come with that now.
Where did you land for the house? Is it in Pooler?
It's like Pooler, Port Wentworth, like right on the edge, I guess, there.
That's okay.
So
yeah, that's great.
I'm
growing
super
area, and God will do more for you in the coming years. And
that was one of our biggest things, is that when we were able to find the house, and like our discussion was like, okay, well, we want to open up our doors for other people in our church, or people that we know, to bring in and just host.
Just wait. You'll be doing a small group, a community group one day, a Bible study, and some guy's going to come in and meet his future wife, and you're going to be like,
exactly, right?
Look at what's happening.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Well, that's awesome. So you moved from, kind of stepping in and out of church to now being, a big part of your life, and through it all, you find blessing and purpose. And a lot of people try to argue around, well, you don't have to follow God to get a promotion. You don't have to follow God to buy a house. You don't have to follow God to have a family. And those are all true statements. But following God gives you fullness and purpose and peace through all of that.
Absolutely.
And you don't find that outside of Him. There's a void that just can't be filled. Money doesn't fill it. People don't fill it. And then you discover a hope that you didn't know, you didn't have. And so, yeah, well, I'm really proud of you guys. I'm really proud of watching the two of you, and who knows what the future holds as far as what God will do for you guys through ministry. But I know you're passionate about helping to lead these small groups. You're constantly experimenting with Josh on, I hear maybe we could do this group, maybe we could do that group, because I know the role now. I understand the role that they played in your life, being in Bible studies and stuff. So that's incredible.
Yeah, I'm just that's I think one of the biggest things I've had as a child growing up, where it's like I really wanted to be a part of a Bible study or a group that was my age or whatever the case is. And now, again, this is where now it's like, okay, now we have a kid coming into play. And there's already groups like that around the church, and I'm happy about that. But I want to set up a common, like a Bible study still for the college age guys and gals that want to come. And it's like, that's a lot still. But no, I mean, I'm super
It all doesn't
stoked.
have to happen day one, but keep moving towards it. So
exactly. So
that's awesome.
But another real quick thing too, and so one of the biggest things I've been challenged with now, especially as a firefighter, where it's like, it's like the military, just like the military, where it's like, you got all these special forces guys saying, yeah, man, I put my faith in God. And then other people are like, oh yeah, like news media, like you said earlier, like, no, these guys aren't believers. It's like the stuff that you see on some of these calls and whatnot. It's like, it makes you question a lot, like, of whether or not, why and how God, like, you go down the spiral loop of like, why did that happen, dude? Like, God is like, I understand how people can think like that, be like, okay, yeah, why would God do that to that person? Why would this happen?
Well, that's based on the assumption that God is the one doing any of that.
Exactly.
We live in a broken world, and broken things are happening, and we're constantly in prayer asking the Lord to intervene, to come in on our behalf in the midst of it. And one of the great little illustrations is that person who pulls into the parking lot, and they get a parking spot up front, and they just say, well, isn't God good? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And somebody else gets has to park in the back of the parking lot, and they're angry at God. And the truth is like, I doubt very seriously God is even thinking about those parking spots.
Right.
And some of them have some of the things that we experience have much further reaching effects, and sometimes they're devastating. It speaks to why we need a God on our own.
Exactly.
What is capable, what we're capable of, what others are capable of, and it pushes us to Him. I love the old song, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. We're the only ones that have an issue with getting to Him. He doesn't have an issue with it. And if we keep that in mind, sometimes that's probably really good. So
exactly. Yeah. And it's just, you hit it right on the head with that. That's where I was wanting to go with it, because it's just like, there's evil in the world. You can't really escape that. And but and to see people who have their faith and can walk through that for a long time, give yourself 10 years and have some of the young guys come in and they go, how could this happen? And you're able to be like, God's still good. I've been walking through this for a decade. God's still good. And that's the crazy part. Like, I've got a captain right now. He's a believer. He goes over to CBC, Community Bible or Community Bible Church. Yeah,
I think
something like that. But he's been walking with the Lord for the last 10 years, and it's like, that's amazing to see. Hear some of his stories as a more senior guy throughout the department, and it's like, it's very encouraging to hear
Absolutely
what he's walked through. So,
all right.
yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for checking out this episode of Testify and taking a moment to listen to Jeremy's story. If you have not met Jeremy and his amazing wife, I'd encourage you to take time to come and introduce yourself on a Sunday. If this has, been an encouragement to you, spoke to you, or you think it adds value to somebody else, feel free to share it. Always, be sure to like it. We love you guys. We hope to see you this Sunday and look for more testimonies to come.